Welcome to a poker vlog with a bit of a difference. Poker with
I'm
kids.
going to poker all by myself. Me!
Yes.
Daddy! Peekaboo. Peekaboo.
There, come on.
Daddy!
There you see?
Peekaboo. Daddy! Daddy!
Here's a poker vlog with a bit of a difference.
Me!
Poker with kids. Welcome everybody again to Poker with Kids. This one is vlog number 31. 2020 is now upon us, and this time we're going to have a bit of a look back at 2019, as well as a couple of sessions that I played towards the latter part of December, as well as having a bit of a look ahead at what 2020 might bring in terms of poker. So to start off with, vlog-wise, obviously I made the move from Melbourne up to Queensland. Put out 10 vlogs for the year, which was probably a bit down on what I was hoping for. But having said that, the first part of the year I sort of get out sort of nine vlogs, and it was really only the second half of the year I only really got out the one or two vlogs. Essentially because the family moved up and joined me in the latter part of 2019. So that's really taken up a lot of my time. I haven't really taken away a lot of the spare time that I might have had otherwise. So good to get out those vlogs early. Good to sort of had a bit of a look around the poker scene up here in Queensland. Hopefully next year I'll be able to get back into a bit more of a routine, and obviously the kids are a bit older, they're a bit more settled in up here. So hopefully I'll be able to play a bit more poker and get some more vlogs out in the new year. In terms of the sessions that I played relatively recently, the mid to late part of December, there were three sessions that I played, and I wanted to have a look at three hands in particular, one from each of those sessions that I suppose are parts of my game that I need to work on. First hand comes from a home game, basically amongst chess coaches, five-handed, 25-50 cent, no limit hold'em. We actually started off with a small tournament. Ended up finishing on the bubble in the tournament, and then we played a cash game after that. So 25-50 cent blinds, no limit hold'em. Everybody's brought in for around about $50. By the stage stacks are sort of slightly above, slightly below. I was probably slightly ahead at this stage. When the following hand came up, basically folded to me on the button. I looked down at I think it was King 4 of Hearts, and decided to raise by standard raising to $1.50 or something like that. Basically just looking to steal the blinds, mainly because the guy in the small blind was tight-ish, and the guy who was the big blind tended to be playing a few too many more hands than you'd sort of expect. And what actually happened, that he defended his big blind. Fair enough, is kind of what I was looking to get heads up with him. And the flop came down 10 high with 2 hearts, and he led into me. And this is where, not so much on the flop, but more on the turn, where I had the interesting spot, is that obviously he's led into me. I've got a decent draw, no need to do anything other than call, no need to really build the pot where I don't actually, I've got a king high at the moment. So either looking to take it away later on in the hand, or obviously make my flush and win the pot that way. The turn brought the perfect card for me, the ace of hearts. So now I know I have the nut flush, have the nuts. No straights are possible. I think the board was 10-6-3 ace or something like that. So no straight flush possibilities or anything like that. And again, he bet into me, and it was a reasonably sizable bet for the pot. I think it was around $3 for a pot that, you know, you're looking at sort of half to 2/3 pot size. So this is where I have the dilemma, the whole trying to balance the idea of getting value from good hands, but also allowing, if your opponent is bluffing, to not allow them to continue to bluff and keep obviously winning money from that state. So I decided to just flat call on the turn, which in hindsight was probably the wrong idea. Would have been better to put in a raise there, but the problem is that there's some action killing cards that can come on the river, and that's actually what happened in the hand. The river paired the ace, so the board's now 10-6-3, ace ace, 3 hearts, and he checks to me. I put out a decent sized bet, and the fact that he didn't snap call means that I pretty much know I'm good. He's eventually sort of thought it over, hemmed and hawed a bit, and ultimately made the call. I rolled over my king 4 of hearts, and he's turned over, I think it was queen 7 of hearts, which obviously is the second nut flush. So if I play this differently and I put in a raise on the turn, I really can't see him, especially the way he was playing, I can't see him doing anything apart from re-raising again on the turn. I'm getting my money and he's drawing dead. So one of those spots where, yes, I'm trying to keep his bluffs in, but what if he's not bluffing? He's he's value betting with a worse hand and drawing dead. And once the action killing card comes on the river, I lose my opportunity to get more money in the pot. So one of the I suppose one of the concepts that I'm still working on my game in No Limit Hold'em. But yeah, that session turned out to be a pretty good night. Catch up with some mates and play some cards. End up a little bit ahead for the night, so that was all good. Second session was at the Star, the 1-3 game in Gold Coast Casino. Had a little bit of wait. This is on a Friday early afternoon, and just the 2 tables going, one table of 1-3, one table of 2-4, which eventually broke and then got back up again not long afterwards. But played reasonably solid, but very, very passive table. Not a lot of raising and re-raising. The two, I actually managed to get aces twice, faced a raise, put in a small 3-bet, and every time both times my opponents folded pre-flop. So obviously that didn't work out. But the hand that I wanted to talk about was a hand where I was in the big blind. And again, this is to do with playing the blinds, and again, another area of No Limit Hold'em that I'm far from an expert of, and still working my game there. But this hand we had a raise under the gun. I think he made it, might have been about $15, which is kind of a standard-ish sort of raise for the 1-3 table. Folded back around to me in the big blind, and I looked down at pocket queens. The issue here is obviously if it was a late position raise, the raising range is much wider. I'm more happy to 3-bet from the blinds. But facing it under the gun range, you'd think there's a tighter, or you'd be expecting a tighter raising range. So queens, yes, generally are good against even a pretty tight range. However, I really don't want to be in a position where I'm bloating the pot out of position and I get the dreaded ace or king on the flop, and I'm either throwing money away where I don't need to, or I just don't know where I am in the hand. So I just decided to call the 15 with my queens. And of course we got something of a dreaded flop. We got the king high flop with a flush draw. Again, I didn't have the I think it was 2 clubs, and I didn't have the queen of clubs. So keeping in the flow of the game, you check to the initial better, and he decided to check the flop. So I'm going, okay, well, maybe he doesn't have a king. He might just have an ace high or a middling pair kind of thing, and maybe my queen's good. Then the turn brought another club. So we've got the flush draw has coming in. If he's decided to, for whatever reason, check his flush draw thing, he might, maybe he's got like a ace, jack, ace, queen of clubs or something like that, and he's going, look, if I'm not going to get 3 streets of value against hand, but, so again, I check it over to him, and again, he checks back. The river was a blank, and again, there's the dilemma of what do I end up doing if I bet. I really don't think I'm getting called by anything, so I don't think it makes any in terms of the hand. The only difference is that I'm winning without a showdown, so I'm not actually showing my cards. But again, this idea of giving your opponent an opportunity to bluff at the pot. So again, I think putting out a $15, $20 river bet would have just got off hold and taken the pot down. But essentially, I just decided to check it over to him, and again, he checked for a third time, and so rolled over the queens and won the pot. But it's one of those ones where, yes, it's good to win the hand, but obviously it would have been nicer to win a bigger pot with a hand like pocket queens. But again, that dilemma of playing out of position, playing from the blinds, facing the under the gun raise with what at least would be perceived to be a tighter raising range rather than it was someone from, let's say, the cut off of the button. I'm more than happy to three bet my queens from the big blind, but that reluctance to pull the trigger when facing that under the gun or early percentage raise, and how that then affected the hand and how it played out. So essentially, I won the $30 pot, which was the bet and the raise kind of thing. The third hand I wanted to discuss was from another home game. This time it was a 1-1 no limit hold'em home game. It was originally supposed to be a 1-1 hold'em in Omaha game, but there are a couple of new players there. They weren't so keen on playing Omaha. I've kind of gone, okay, well, I'll just play 1-1 hold'em, although in hindsight it would be much better to play some Omaha. Not only just the fact that I can get in some Omaha play, but I suspect based on how they're playing hold'em, it probably would have been just even more beneficial to play Omaha. Anyway, this hand that I want to look at, we're playing, I think, 6 or 7-handed this stage. I think it was 6-handed. Folds to me on the button, and I look down at ace-8 offsuit. I think it's perfectly fine to raise on the button, so I just make it, I think, $3 or $3 or $4, which is kind of the standard sort of somewhere between 3 and 5 was kind of like the standard raise for the table at the moment. Got called by the big blind, who was in fact the host of the game. And we saw a flop of 9-9-7, and he decided to put out a small bet. I think it was like $3, pretty much the same as what my pre-flop raise size was. I thought, look, I've got ace high, 8. There might be some sort of straight possibilities that come up. I'm in position. Take a card off. Can't be too bad. And the turn brought a 6. So now I'm open it. I've got the 4 card straight. Still have ace high. So I'm thinking, look, I've got multiple ways to potentially win the hand, even if I can either make a hand, make a straight, make a pair of aces. I'm not thinking at this stage that he's got the 9, so I'm going to, even if he's got the 9, I've still got the straight outs. If he has, say, the 7, I've got the ace outs as well as the straight outs as well. So when he puts out a bet, I think he bet $10 on the turn. No problem, I'll make the call on the turn. And the straight came in on the river. However, it did also bring in a flush. I think it was it was a 5 and put out a flush as well. So 3 was suit, which obviously I didn't have being offsuit. But I have made my 9 high straight on the river. And this time he's led into me for 15. And this is, again, where I have another bit of a dilemma hand where I've made my hand. It's not as strong as I'd like it to be, but it is still a pretty strong hand. And given that he's been betting from the flop, you'd expect him to have a 9, a 7, or some kind of... you wouldn't really expect him to have a straight as well, basically, is what I'm getting at. There's a small chance he might have a flush, but again, if he's betting both the flop and the turn on a flush draw, again, it was unlikely in the way the game was playing. It tended to be if people had flush draws, they might bet one of 2 streets, but they wouldn't really bet both streets, and then again bet the river. So in this situation, I'm thinking that there's a decent chance my hand's good. So, but obviously I'm far from nuts. decided to make the call, and he's rolled over pocket sevens, and yeah, I'm essentially drawing dead from the flop. But one of those hands where it's a little bit frustrating, where you've got other situations where, in that case, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 times in that table, the straight would be good 100% of the time, and I would just happen to walk into the guy who's flopped a full house, and can't really do much about that. But again, maybe it was one of those ones where I could have just, if he was leading into me, maybe let go on the flop. But yeah, once I've sort of got to the river, I think I pretty much have to call. But again, just frustrating that it's ended up that way in the hand. Also, the session overall ended up a bit down on that one. Ended up broke even on the session at the Star. So yeah, one up, one down, one break even. But yeah, again, one of those things where I'd like to get out and play a bit more poker in the new year. Looking ahead to the rest of 2020, and the poker year gets off to a pretty big start in Australia with the Aussie Millions starting on January 4, which might already be underway by the time you're watching this video. This year running a bit earlier than it has in the past, and that's actually allowed a small window of opportunity for the Australian Poker Open, a short series of high stakes events to be run at the Star Gold Coast in the late part of January. And immediately following that, there's also the first event of the Australian Poker Tour Season 3 coming to you from Brisbane this time, the end of January, start of February. And the APT have 6 events planned for the season across Brisbane, Gold Coast and Sydney. So 3 venues, 2 events at each, 6 events. And they've actually put up a $50,000 player of the season prize on top of the usual events that they've got running. One thing that I'm actually excited about this time, at least for the upcoming Brisbane event in late January, early February, they actually have an 8-game event. They've actually made an $1,100 buy-in, which at the moment with the family is probably a bit out of the price range. But they've also decided to organise at least one satellite into that event. So I think I'll, at the very least, play the satellite. Hopefully I'll be able to get into the main event itself and see how I go. But yeah, something that you don't often see, a mixed game event held outside a casino environment. From memory, the only place I've really played a mixed game outside a casino, apart from home games, is actually at the old Newtown RSL Pokerdome that they had, probably would have been 10 or so years ago. Had an occasional mixed event then when I used to drop in on holidays and stuff like that. So I used to play there occasionally. But yeah, apart from that, normally it's the standard fare outside casinos. But yeah, it's good to see a bit of variety. In addition to that, we've also got the APL Millions coming up in March at the Star in Sydney. And I can't really go into details, but there is quite a change coming for APL following the APL Million in March. They're looking at starting up a series of events in some ways to kind of almost, I don't know necessarily challenge or rival is the right word, but a similar kind of setup to what some of the other poker companies up in Queensland and have been doing. Things like the APT with their Australian Poker Tour, things like the WPT League with their quarterly poker series, that type of thing. Something to rival those kind of events. Obviously, WPT League have their quarterly poker event. The first one's in February, I believe, towards the end of February. So plenty to keep, at least in the tournament. Well, plenty to keep going for poker players, especially up in Queensland. Again, hopefully, as I was saying earlier, with the kids getting a bit older, hopefully being a bit more settled in, I'm hopefully get a bit more opportunity to play a bit more poker in 2020. But we'll see how we go, and hopefully also get a bit more content out on the vlog. Might also see if I can do a bit more sort of hand analysis type stuff, not necessarily of my own play, but maybe even some sort of televised poker stuff and that sort of thing. just to change it up a bit rather than just being the talking head to a camera with the occasional bit of graphics or whole cam footage or whatever that type of thing we might add in from time to time. But that's going to wrap up vlog number 31. Thanks for watching again. Like, share, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff if you like the content. And hope to see you at the poke table soon and back for another vlog in the not too distant future. Thanks.